After being filmed nearly 3 years ago, Marvel Studios has finally released the first trailer for Ironheart, and thank God, because I was starting to get worried they forgot this show existed. Considering the stacked creative team and having Ryan Coogler on board as an executive producer, I am genuinely excited to see what they're cooking up. He may only be in the producer role, but anything that man touches turns to gold, so I have full faith in this project just because of that alone. And from what we can see here, I honestly think it looks really good. It seems like such a fun, small stakes show in the MCU, which is exactly the thing we need a lot more of nowadays. Let us see more of how this world operates on the ground level through the perspective of a character like Ironheart, someone who we're going to be following as she goes to school and tries to build her own legacy as a hero. And I think that's going to be an incredibly exciting lens to view this universe through, especially when you take into account the themes of technology versus magic, which very much so seem to be at the forefront of this series. That idea alone completely sold me on this show because I think it's such a fascinating dilemma to pit grounded technology in Ironheart versus supernatural magic in the Hood. It's something I never would have expected at all, but is exactly the kind of interesting premise that I think warrants a show like this. And I know there's going to be so many people saying, oh, nobody asked for this, who wants this? But people said the exact same thing about things like Agatha all along and recently Thunderbolts, so until the show actually comes out, I am very happy that Marvel is subverting our expectations with the shows that we didn't know we wanted, even if they are seemingly completely burying this in the promotion, which we'll get to later on. But until I'm given any reason otherwise, I am very excited to see what this series has to offer, especially because so far, every little thing we've learned about this show and seen from it completely catches me off guard in the most exciting ways. For example, there is nothing that could have prepared me for the fact that this trailer opens with Riri being put in what's basically a saw trap as the Hood forces her into an elevator that's going to kill her if she can't find a way to escape, as this test to see how smart she is, which is horrific in its own way, but also I think it's very fun and a great way to show just how capable she is as a character, as she is forced into a situation where she can't rely on her technology and can only rely on her intelligence to get out of this life or death situation. It's a great way to show just how scrappy and intuitive she is as she gets out of this elevator, not by doing it the conventional way that the Hood wants her to, but by finding her own way out of there, which is a great parallel for how she's trying to forge her own identity. It's completely out of left field how she gets into this situation, but it's little moments like that that give me faith in this series because they're directly showing us what makes her an interesting character and someone that we haven't exactly seen before in the MCU. I know that we're going to see an insufferable amount of people complaining that she's trying to become the next Iron Man, but I really like how this show is putting a heavy focus on the fact that Riri is her own character and isn't just another Iron Man clone. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm the most well-versed in the Ironheart lore. I only really know her from a very surface level glance, but I think the MCU version of Riri Williams has a lot of potential, as I really enjoyed her character in Wakanda Forever, and I think that having them expand on that in her own show is only going to make me appreciate her character more for who she is. And so far, they're doing a great job at differentiating her from Tony Stark in the way that she has this completely different upbringing and personality, as she can't rely on being a billionaire to fund this operation and is doing things at a much smaller scale. And I think that adds an incredibly interesting wrinkle because she only has the one suit of armor. If that gets damaged, it's not like she can just summon another one or she can just build another suit so easily. She does not have this endless supply of resources to make that armor. And I think that difference there is what makes her such a compelling character. There's an added sense of stakes knowing that her life's work could be destroyed at any moment and it could take her another lifetime to recreate it. And this show is exploring that in a very fascinating way, as Riri is forced to work with the Hood just so she can fund this operation and get the money she needs to build the armor, having to do bad things and work with a criminal so that in the long term she can do good things and become a superhero. It's unlike anything we've seen before in the MCU and makes me immediately want to see more of this character and that dynamic. And the costume department is absolutely cooking with everybody in this show. It's a step away from her traditional look in the comics, but I am really vibing with this Ironheart suit design. The black, white, and gold look is so sleek and really makes her stand out from any other suit of armor we've seen before. And the Hood has a very simple design in the comics, as he's literally just a guy with a red hood and guns, so it's hard to mess up. I just realized it sounds like I'm describing the character of Red Hood, and it's kind of funny that Marvel and DC each have their own gun-toting vigilante wearing a red hood. But I do like the added texture they've given to the Hood to really lean into the supernatural vibe of it all. It's small details like that that go a a long way in showing that they have an understanding of these characters and what they represent, and you can really tell that they did this show as practically as possible, which is very impressive considering this is a character who wears a flying suit of armor, but that added tangibility of having a real suit on set that we see Dominique Thorne wearing. After Robert Downey Jr. got tired of doing that very quickly, it goes a long way in really giving the suit a sense of weight that it desperately needs. When you CGI everything, you run the risk of having it feel like this weightless floating design that doesn't really interact with the environment well, which we have seen before in the past in the MCU. So I think when they go the extra mile to blend the suit with the environment better by having it on set, it makes it feel grounded in reality, which is exactly what you need when you have such a larger-than-life concept like somebody flying around in a suit of armor. And in those moments where they do have to add CGI to enhance what they're doing, because obviously, unfortunately for all of us, you can't actually build a practical Ironheart suit, I'm very grateful that they did have those 3 years of post-production, as ridiculous as it is that this show wasn't out a year ago, because it meant that they could take their time to perfect the effects. And judging by this trailer, they did exactly that because it looks flawless. There isn't a single shot in this that I thought looked rushed at all. Whether it be the piece-by-piece suit-up scene that I desperately missed seeing, or just seeing her fly around the city, it is a welcomed return to form seeing this quality of visual effects on Disney+. It's another small thing, but I very much so enjoy seeing Jim Rash return from his very brief cameo in Civil War here. It's that kind of interconnectivity and consistency in the MCU that I love to see. It makes the world feel so alive, and when you have the opportunity to bring Jim Rash back, you absolutely need to take that. That being said, if he doesn't make at least one Dean pun in the show, why make it at all? Alright, this video already has no structure, so I'm just gonna keep jumping around all over the place, but it also seems like they're gonna be adapting the story in the comics where Riri's friend Natalie is killed and she recreates her with AI, as we see Natalie appear earlier in the trailer, and then later on we see Riri talking to her as AI for the first time. Wow, who'd have thought that AI can actually be used for good and not just generative slop that steals artists' work and spreads misinformation? Which I think is a really great way to ground the series in some emotion, as we can see Riri's technology be used for good. And it gives her this tragedy that defines her life and makes her want to become a hero in the first place. Because we all know that you can't exactly be a superhero if you don't suffer through an immeasurable amount of tragedy first. We also finally get to see Alden Ehrenreich in the MCU as he's playing who's rumored to be Ezekiel Stane, the son of Obadiah Stane, which I think is a very fun way to continue that legacy. I have no idea what kind of role he's going to play in this series, if he's going to be an antagonist at all, but I just like seeing him in the MCU. I do kind of wish that he could have had a bigger role because he's such a talented actor, and now he's been reduced to a side character, but I know that he's at least going to turn in a great performance as he's already so charming in the trailer. The trio of him, Dominique Thorne, and Anthony Ramos in this cast is incredibly promising, and I'm very excited to see what they're doing with this show. But here's the thing. I absolutely hate the way they're promoting this series. It feels like Marvel is trying to bury it, and that does not sit right with me at all. Maybe they're just not confident in its quality, which I find hard to believe with Ryan Coogler involved, so if you allow me to cope for a few seconds, I just need to get this out of my system because it sucks that it's only going to get a 2-week release as they drop 3 episodes one week and 3 episodes another. And I get that they don't want the marketing to get in the way of Fantastic Four First Steps, but like, there's nothing stopping them from dropping it next week or something. I don't get why it has to be all done in 2 weeks because nobody's going to be talking about it, and they're doing a disservice to the character of Ironheart by just sweeping her under the rug like this. But that sucks so much, man, to see a show with a woman of color in the lead be basically just dumped out like this. And I understand that it's one of the last few holdovers from the Too Much era of Marvel, as we can only hope this is the last 6-episode series for a long time. But that doesn't mean they just have to treat it like it's worthless. This will all age terribly if the show is actually bad, but we've given no signs of its quality besides the promotion, so I'm gonna wait until it's out to form my own opinion. It's just very frustrating that they're doing everything in their power to give this as little staying power as possible, with such a poor release model. And like, if Secret Invasion of all things can get a 6-episode release, I don't see why Ironheart can't either, because only putting this show out for 2 weeks feels like a mistake to me. That release schedule on top of the very poor promotion they've been doing just really bummed me out. Disney has this weird rule where they don't promote 2 shows at the same time, which means we've had to wait until not just Born Again, but Andor finished so they can start marketing Ironheart. But the most baffling thing about all of this is that the Superman trailer also drops today. So it's going to be completely overshadowed by that, which only reinforces the fact that they're trying to bury this, and that sucks. Despite all that though, I'm still going to go into this show with an open mind and hopeful that it's going to be good. It's got a great creative team and an incredibly interesting premise, so I am rooting for it to succeed, and we'll be there day 1 and I guess 2, since there's only 2 days to watch it. And I hope that all of you are too, because I think that it is absolutely worth giving a chance. I'm a big fan of when Marvel surprises us with the projects we didn't know we wanted, and I think Ironheart is going to be another sleeper hit like Agatha. Alright, I'm clearly part of the problem because the Superman trailer is going to drop in 5 minutes from when I'm recording this, so I think I'll end things there, but why don't you let me know what you thought about the Ironheart trailer? I would genuinely love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. And while you're at it, you may as well give the video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you don't do it, you will only have 2 weeks left to live. This is a promise and a threat.